Hello. So our goal today is we're going to continue with multi-step inequalities, but we are going to be adding one additional step that you've seen before when solving equations. We're going to be adding the distributive property. It's chip and dip day today. And what you will notice is, remember, with the distributive property, you will see parentheses. The only change that you have in solving multi-step equations is you want to simplify first before you go through the steps, which means you want to eliminate the parentheses.
And remember when we worked with distributive property previously, we were drawing in arrows and we were saying this was the chip and we were going to dip. And then we would take our chip and double dip. Where else can you double dip except just in math class? Remember that when we draw this arrow, it represents we are going to be taking the number outside the parenthesis and multiplying it by the number that's inside the parenthesis, and then we'll repeat the number on the outside and multiply by the second number that's in our set of parentheses.
Because remember, what this is saying is negative 2a and 3, we want that 4 times. So let's see what that looks like.
So 4 times negative 2 is negative 8a. We're going to bring down the same operation symbol, and 4 times 3 is 12.
So that's how you'd simplify. Now let's apply this to 2 examples that we would like you to write down in your notes. We're going to start with 2 times 2y plus 3 is greater than or equal to 18.
I notice right away that I have the distributive property, so I'm going to draw in my arrows and remind myself that I am multiplying. So multiplying 2 times 2y will give me 4y. And 2 times 3 is 6.
Now we have the 2-step inequalities that you've been used to seeing. So if we go back to those directions, we make sure that we don't have any subtraction, and we don't. So then, remember to isolate the variable we always start with, add the opposite.
I have positive 6, so I'm going to be adding negative 6. And on the opposite side, I will also add negative 6. Simplifying, I have positive 6 and negative 6 as opposites. 4 times y is remaining. And on the other side, I have 18 plus negative 6. I'm going to find the difference between those numbers. I have more positives, so positive 12.
In isolating the variable, remember that we have 4y, meaning 4 times y. So to undo multiplication, we are going to divide both sides by 4. I am noticing that I am dividing by a positive 4, which means I have no red alert in this example.
The 4 divided by 4 is 1. I have y remaining. And 12 divided by 4 is 3.
All right, so our solution set is y is greater than or equal to 3. I can start graphing by putting 3 in the middle. I'm going to choose intervals of 1, so 3, 4, 5, getting bigger, getting smaller, 3, 2, 1, blast off. So we're going to circle above the 3. I am noticing that it includes 3. So to demonstrate that, I fill this in. Since I have my variable written first, it points me in the right direction. Y is greater than or equal to 3, so greater than means go to the right.
We are going to be picking a number underneath our arrow to use for our check. Mrs. Armentrout has rewritten the original problem, leaving a box for our variable. So I can choose 4 or 5, I could choose 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. I will just choose 4. How about we use that?
All right. Now, because we can solve this, over here we couldn't solve inside the parentheses. We can use our order of operations instead of the distributive property, which means I can solve inside the parentheses first. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. Bring down my 2. 2 times 11 is 22. And now I'm going to compare that over here. So I bring down my sign, greater than or equal to 18. And that is a true statement. 22 is greater than or equal to 18. So I know I'm on the right track. Awesome.
One more problem for today.
Ooh, this one looks scary. There's fractions and negative numbers, but don't worry. Step by step, and you'll get this just fine.
Again, we notice we have the distributive property with the parentheses. Those parentheses need to be eliminated. I'm going to draw in my arrows to show I'm taking that chip, dipping it twice. I'm going to remind myself that I am multiplying.
We are multiplying by a fraction, and so since we have numbers that are not in fraction form, we're going to go ahead and write those over 1 so that we have something for our denominator, the bottom number, to multiply with.
So first I'm going to take 2/5 times negative 2 over 1. I'm going to multiply my numerators, which is negative 4, and 5 times 1 is 5x. I'm going to bring down my addition operation. Next I'm going to multiply 2/5 times 10 over 1. Now I notice here that I could do some simplifying because 5 and 10 have a factor of 5 in common. So I'm going to divide by 5, which is 1, divide by 5, which is 2. So now I have 2 times 2, which is 4, and 1 times 1, which is 1. So I can simplify that and write 4.
If you didn't simplify, you would just get 2 times 10, which is 20, and 5 times 1, which is 5. 20 divided by 5 would give you the same answer. So either way works. Now notice, to isolate our variable, get it by itself, we're going to go through those steps. We don't need to KFC, so we're going to add the opposite to start.
The opposite of positive 4 is negative 4, and I will also add negative 4 to the other side. When I start to simplify, I notice that I have opposites, and I am left with negative 4/5 times x. Negative 8 plus negative 4, how many negatives do I have all together? I have negative 12.
To isolate the variable, we're multiplying by a negative 4/5.
Red alert!
We've got two things going on, a red alert and a fraction situation. Remember that when we're multiplying by a fraction, we're going to flip the fraction or multiply by the reciprocal. Because we are multiplying by a negative, as Ms. Slush said, it is a red alert. So we're going to go ahead and circle our inequality so we remember that we have to flip it. We have to switch it when we multiply or divide by a negative.
All right, so reversing our inequality symbol, it becomes greater than or equal to. Going back to complete our arithmetic, our 5s and 4s cancel. I am left with x. And on this side, I notice that 4 and 12 have a factor of 4 in common. So I divide by 4, which is 1. And negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3.
Looks like we're left with negative 5 times negative 3. Same sign's positive when we multiply or divide. So negative 5 times negative 3 is going to be 15. And of course, 1 times 1 is 1. So we would just have 15. Now look, we have one more thing we need to consider. This reads 15 is greater than or equal to x. We want the variable first. So we're going to read it backwards. X is less than or equal to 15. And we'll write it that same way. Our solution set then is x is less than or equal to 15. So let's go ahead and graph that. 15 in the center, increase by intervals of 1, circle, and fill in because it is less than or equal to. Since our variable has been written first, that points us in the right direction. We also know left is less, and so we are going to the left in this direction. Here is our messy beginning problem. But remember, we want to rewrite it exactly how we started with, and so we're going to plug in one of these numbers.
Now I can pick any number that's here, 14, 13, or even if I counted down, I could use 12, 11, 10. 10 that ends in a 0, that's an easy number. So Mrs. Armentrout, I'm going to use 10.
Wonderful.
Fill that in for me.
I will. And since everything is filled in, we can actually use order of operations to solve. So I'm going to focus in right here. I'm not going to worry about anything else but what's in these parentheses. So I have negative 2 times 10 is a negative 20, different signs, negative, and 10 still in the parentheses. So negative 20 and 10, different signs, find the difference. So I have a negative 10 when I get all of this solved out. I'm going to bring down my 2/5. And then, because I'm focusing on this side of the inequality, I am going to finish this out by multiplying 2/5 times a negative 10. Since it's a fraction, I'm going to make this a fraction as well. And I can cross simplify by dividing by the 5 factors. So this is going to be 1. Negative 10 divided by 5 is going to be negative 2. So this is what I'm left with. 2 times a negative 2 is negative 4. 1 times 1 is 1. And so I have a negative 4 after all this has been handled. I can bring down my negative 8. It is less than or equal to. Check if that's true. And it is. Negative 8 is less than negative 4. All right, let's have you give these a try.